am finally pulling this project out, and we're going to start working on it and see if we can get this thing running. Now, I bought this like maybe 2 or 3 months ago. Some of you guys have seen it in the background of my videos. This is a Kawasaki KFX 700 quad. I only paid $800 for this thing. It looks in pretty decent shape for 800 bucks, but there are some things wrong with it. There's some play in the handlebars, the seat's ripped, the tires are bald. Also, the guy that I bought this from, he said the engine runs, but the engine has a knocking noise in the engine. So he said that it could be like the cam chain, but if it's a knocking noise, I'm not really sure if the cam chain can make a knocking noise. So we gotta figure out what it is and see if we can fix it. Also, if you take the radiator cap off and you look underneath the radiator cap, oh, you can see some nice and shiny, what could be metal shavings underneath the radiator cap. I hope they are not metal shavings in the coolant system. I can't really think of anything else that would be like that would look like sparkly glitter in there. So hopefully we gotta figure out what that's from and see if we can fix that as well. So now, I originally bought this thing to tear the engine out and use it for a custom-made vehicle, as I do with everything that I buy. But this is a shaft drive engine. I knew that when I bought it. I bought it anyway because I thought that I'll use this on a vehicle, on a homemade vehicle that needs a shaft drive engine. But I can't really think of anything that I could build that would need a shaft drive engine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this thing running, get it riding, so therefore I have a non-homemade vehicle that is hopefully more reliable and doesn't break down every time I go off-roading with Lee and all of his friends. So, don't get me wrong, as fun as the Ninja is, that thing's not really an off-road vehicle, and it just seems like it breaks down every time I take it off-roading. So it'd kind of be nice to have a vehicle that I can go off-roading and will hopefully not break down every time I take this thing off-roading. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take all the plastics off. I kind of want to see what the bare chassis looks like, see how bad all that stuff looks, and then we're going to try and get the engine running and see what that knocking noise is. That smells like varnish. Let's drain the old gas out. Who knows how old it is. Alright, let's see if this thing actually fires up. So I think it's not getting fuel. This thing's not getting fuel. I think there's a fuel pump, and it's just not pumping. Okay, so I moved the petcock from on to PRI. Is that something like is that like reserve? And now that I turned it to there, now you can see gas going into the gas filter. It's got a little bit of a high idle, but it runs. I didn't hear any ticking noise, but all I could hear was the mufflers. It's not running great, and you can kind of hear. Yeah, it's not a knocking noise. It's more of just a metal on metal rubbing. It kind of sounds like the cam chain is like loose and rubbing up against something. So yeah, kind of. It looks like I need to, and it's on the front. It's on the front cylinder. Yeah, I think we need to take off the front cylinder head. Okay, so I took the valve cover off just to make sure that the cam chain isn't loose and flopping around in there. That's what I thought originally was the issue, and turns out that no, the cam chain's not loose. I couldn't really see anything that's loose or making noise in there, but the more I was looking at it, one thing I noticed is the cam is off of timing by just a tiny little bit. And originally I thought that maybe the chain just skipped a tooth and that's causing it to be off of timing. So I moved the cam over one tooth, and it's still off of timing but just in the other direction. So I moved it back, and I've been checking this, I've been checking the manual, checking to see how to do the timing, and I've been making sure that yes, it is off of timing by a tiny little bit. I've been doing Instagram posts asking you guys, explaining what's going on, and asking you guys advice, like, you know, what's going on, what do I do, why is it this, why is it off of timing a little bit. And also this morning I've been on the phone with somebody who's more knowledgeable about this stuff, and what you guys are saying and what he was saying is what sounds to be the issue is the cam chain just may have stretched, causing it to be off of timing. Now that makes sense, because when it was running on choke, it was running fine, but as soon as I took it off of choke, it was backfiring into the intake, and it was also, when I was revving the engine, it was backfiring into the exhaust. And that makes sense, because that makes sense that could be the timing is off. So what I did last night is, I bought new cam chains. There's 3 of them inside this engine. I bought 3 of them, brand new. They get here in about a week, but what we need to do right now is we need to take this engine apart and make sure there's nothing else internally that we need to replace inside this engine. Make sure that the cam chain guides don't need to be replaced as well. So originally I was thinking about taking this engine out of the frame, so therefore it's a lot easier to work on this, but after seeing how heavy this engine looks, honestly I really don't feel like muscling this thing out of the frame to get it on the workbench just to take it apart. And then while we're waiting for parts to get here, I gotta move it somewhere else out of the way, so therefore I can work on other stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the engine in there. It's going to be a little harder to work on it, but it's going to be easier moving it around. And we need to take the other valve cover off. We need to take this cover off. We need to take the CTV out. That's going to be fun. Without a CTV puller, you need to make one. Then we need to take the cover off behind that, and then just make sure that there's nothing else internally that we need to replace. So therefore we can order it now if anything needs to be replaced. So therefore it gets here by the time the cam chains get here. Wow, this thing's beat up. Holy crap. Holy crap. Look at this. It looks like a chunk of metal like broke off, and you can actually see something missing right here. And it looks like it just wreaked havoc on the inside of this for like a couple miles. There's like marks on this stuff everywhere. Come on! Oh, there we go. Did it. It's a miracle. That actually worked without breaking anything. Which way is loosening? This way. It's honestly a miracle. Oh, did I just put that on? Oh, I just tightened it. Oh, I meant to loosen it. Oh, put this thing back on. Shouldn't be on there too tight. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't that tight. Alright, loosening. This way. Alright, I finally got this off. That was a bit sketchy, but it worked. Alright, look at this. Look at this shape that's in on these sides. Look at this. Holy crap! So, okay, this is either gonna need a rebuild or a new one, because this thing, it rattles. There's some of these weights on the inside rattles, and you can see that they're broken. That one's broken, and the one on the other side is broken as well. So, my lord, just look at this thing. Look at that. Okay, so either I need a new one of these, or it definitely needs a rebuild. So, yeah, the more I take this thing apart, the more damage I find. Does this make sense? That this just pulled right off with the cover? Does that make sense? Normally these are a nightmare to pull off, especially if you don't have the tool to pull these off. But this just, it just came right off with the cover. This was stuck on the stator on the cover. Is that right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, normally these are a nightmare. Yeah, normally these are a nightmare to get off. So, so the key is fine. The key is not sheared in half. If the key was sheared in half, I would think that, oh crap, this spun on the axle and that's why it fell off, but no, the key is not sheared in half. Both surfaces do not look damaged, like this spun on the shaft. So I think it's fine. It's just, you know, the easiest flywheel removal I have ever done. So yeah, that's a bit strange. I'm not really sure what to make about that, but yeah, I'm just gonna. You know, yeah, you can just see how much play these chains have in it. That's not supposed to be like that. It's not supposed to have this much play in it. So, yeah. So, main reason for taking all this stuff apart now is to make sure that all this stuff doesn't need replacing as well. The sprockets up here, these plastic chain guides don't need replacing. And as far as I can tell, they don't. They look they don't look worn down or anything. One thing I did have to buy today is this chain right here, the oil chain, because this is also very loose, and the chains that I bought doesn't include this, so I had to buy a new one. It was only 40 bucks, so it's not that bad. So for now, what we need to do is all this stuff that I ordered on eBay, it's going to take a little while for that stuff to get here. Now, as far as the CTV, or the CVT, as far as the CVT driver pulley, I will look into seeing if I can buy a used one that's in decent shape. If they're too expensive, I will at the very least try and rebuild that thing, because all the rollers on the inside that make it expand and contract, I need to replace all those because they're pretty damaged on the inside. So, but I will look into seeing if I can find a relatively cheap one, a used one, on eBay. But if they're too expensive, I'll just see if I can rebuild that thing. So I guess for now, what we need to do is we just need to wait for the stuff that I bought on eBay to get here. It's going to take about a week and a half to get here. So in the meantime, I'm going to put this cover back on. Won't put the flywheel on, but I'll put the cover on so dust doesn't get in here. I'll leave these papers on the top. And I'm just going to move all this stuff to the side for now and can work on something else. And then once all the parts get here, then we'll pull this thing back out and continue working on it. Okay, so it's about a week and a half later. Most of the parts that I ordered have gotten here, and not everything, but enough to where we can at least reassemble the engine. Now, got new oil filter, these spark plugs. This is, I believe this is the coolant pump seal. Got all 4 chains inside the engine. Hopefully these are the right ones. Hopefully they fit. Got a new throttle cable because the old one was sticking. Can't have that. And of course, the gasket set. So let's start reassembling the thing and installing all the new parts. I gotta look up and figure out how to take that cover off. So the manual says just to put a screw in there and pull it out. So let's see if that works. It worked. Wow. So, here's the old chain, and here's the new chain. I'm going to put the old chain on the bottom, just to show you how much it's stretched. Check this out. Yeah, that's stretched. Look at that. Alright, Lord. Alright, let's reassemble this thing. Alright, got all the new chains on. These are now a lot tighter than the old ones. So I'm pretty sure I got the timing correct, but once the flywheel's on, once we put the cover back on, I'll recheck the timing just to make sure. Alright, so I'm going to put the primary clutch back on just so I can put a rod through it, so hopefully hold the engine from spinning so I can torque the flywheel bolt. It's going to be fun having to get this thing back off. And hopefully that will hold the engine. I'm not sure if the primary clutch is just spinning on there. I may try and tighten it a little bit more. Wow, how tight is this thing? I'm at the right torque spec, right? Number 10, alternator rotor bolt, 94 foot-pounds. Yeah, 94. 94 foot-pounds. A sec. There it is. There it is. Should I adjust the valves? Should I adjust the valves on here? Let me at least check them. I'm gonna check the valves. Alright, so I checked the valve clearance and they were a little tight, so I adjusted them to spec and almost forgot the little bolts that go inside the valve covers. So put those on, almost forgot those. So, I'm trying to take this off, so therefore I can replace the throttle cable, because the throttle cable, where is it? It's right here. It's messed up. So, need to replace it, and I can't get it off. I can't get this off. The screws, there's 3 screws on here, and they are stripped and very tight on here, so I stripped them even worse, and I can't get them off. So pretty much the only thing I can do is just drill them out and then just replace the screws. So let's see if this works. So this is the easiest way to do this, but it is destructive, and you do have to replace the bolts or the screws. Also, this handlebar is bent, so we need to replace that as well. So just put that on the list. Oh boy. Power's up. Power failure. There it goes back on. Well, that was interesting. Power went out. I can't get this stinking thing to go in the hole. It won't fit. Okay, so let's talk about the CVT primary clutch and secondary clutch for a little bit. Now, I think I already said this, but the primary clutch and secondary clutch on this thing are like almost destroyed. You know, these things looks like they've been through hell. And what it looks like is a chunk of metal got in here, and the guy drove this thing for like miles and miles with a chunk of metal, wreaking havoc in the CVT, and just dinged up every single surface on this thing. That's important. So I've been trying to find a used primary clutch on eBay. I keep finding them for the brute force version, the 750 quad like this, the 4-wheel drive version. But this is the V-Force, the 700. I couldn't find any on eBay. Couldn't find them used. I took this to MR Motorcycles in Nashville. Of course, he tried to sell me a brand new one for $700. Didn't do that. That's a little pricey. So didn't really have that many options until, shout out to Tyler Builds on Instagram. He sent me an eBay listing for this. This is made by Comet, and it is an aftermarket primary clutch for this quad. Now, this was only $350, which is $100 more expensive than the used ones on eBay, but I couldn't find them on eBay, and this was basically the only option besides the $700 brand new one. So I went with this. One thing I'm noticing, one major difference, besides, you know, they do look a little bit different, is the fins on the back side. On the stock one, there's like these fins on the back which help move air and get airflow through the CVT system and help cool the belt. And there's no fins on the aftermarket one. So there's kind of fins a little bit. I mean, not really. I wouldn't call them fins. They're more just like I don't know. But hopefully this doesn't have. Hopefully this doesn't create any overheating issues with the belt. But it was the only option, and it's what I went with. Also, the secondary, like I said, I could find them on eBay, but the one I found already sold. So once it shows up again, I'll try and buy another one. It was only $100 on eBay, and I will try and replace this as soon as possible. But the primary was the worst one, in the worst shape, and it was all the rollers were destroyed as well. So that one needed replacing the most. So let's put this on, and hopefully it works. Hopefully it fits, and then let's see if we can get this engine running. So I have a socket that'll fit, and I have a torque wrench, but the socket doesn't fit the torque wrench. So, and I don't have an adapter that goes from small to big. So, okay, so while I was out, also picked up the new tires for the back. I didn't get new tires for the front because the front are fine, the back were almost like bald. So I had to get new tires for the back. Now I picked these up at Schroeder's Honda. They were able to get the tires on the rims, but they couldn't get the bead to seat to fill the tires up. I told them it's fine because I got one of these things, one of these air cannons. So let's use this to try and fill the tires up. Let's see if we can get this to work. Whoa, that was loud. I have no idea how much PSI this needs, so let's try. Let's try like 75, 80. Alright, got hearing protection on. Let's see if this works. Where is it? I wasn't fast enough with the air. Let's try 100 PSI. It worked! Probably should have put some soap and water on this so it can bead a little easier. A little late for this, but better late than never. There goes one. And that's two. Ah, it's got a leak. Oh no. Did it? It was leaking for a second, and then it went away. Where's that stem? Where did I put that stem? There we go. You ready with this? Woo! There we go. Alright, moment of truth. Let's see if she'll fire up. To neutral. Choke on. Took it off the choke and then it died. Got to turn the idle up a bit. It seems to run fine on choke. It seems to run fine on choke. As soon as I take it off a choke, it starts sputtering and backfiring, and it dies. Maybe it just needs to be warmed up. I don't know. Just keep running it, I guess. It smells terrible. As soon as I give it gas, it dies. It does stink. Like the exhaust coming out of it stinks. Like it's old and really old gas. Even though I did put fresh gas in here, I did suck out all the old gas as much as I could and put in new gas. Okay, so the problems that this thing's having. It's backfiring into the intake in idle, it's not really wanting to idle, it runs fine on choke. As soon as I take it off of choke, it doesn't really want to idle, and as soon as I touch the throttle, lightly, it dies. All that could be is a vacuum leak on the intake. So how to test for that is I have brake cleaner, I'm gonna fire this thing up, spray brake cleaner around in here. If the engine revs up, then it is a vacuum leak issue. So it didn't rev up. It didn't rev up at all when I sprayed this stuff. Is this flammable? Let me make sure this is flammable. So it's not even flammable. So it helps when you use a flammable liquid. Let me try this stuff. See if it's flammable. Woo! There we go. It helps if you use a flammable liquid. I don't think that other stuff I was using was flammable. So let's do that test again and use this. Just in case. It's running a little bit better now. It did not rev up when I sprayed this stuff on there. And the tinking noise that you can hear, it definitely sounds like it's a CVT. It gets quieter when I put my hand over that exhaust port, whatever that thing is. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's wrong with this. It seems like it's running, and then it's like not really running that well, and it's backfiring, and it's still backfiring into the intake. Just not as bad as it was when I first fired. It could be, you know, yet another thing of it's been sitting around for, I know when I bought this, it's been sitting for 2 months out getting rained on outside. Who knows how long this thing's been sitting. You know, before I bought it, it could be just another thing that just needs to be run through for it to start running well. So, I don't know. You know, we need to take this thing for a test drive to see how well it works, how well it runs. Because, you know, sitting here just revving the thing up, it's not really going to tell us anything. We need to drive this and see how it drives. But, unfortunately, can't do that around here anymore, so we gotta take this thing somewhere to test it. There's one other test that I want to do, and just make sure the transmission works. Okay, so it's running, it's just not running the best right now. It seems like the more I run the engine, the better it seems to be running a little bit. It was backfiring into the intake at first really bad, but now it's not doing it as often, but now it seems like it has a miss in the engine. Like while it's idling, it has a miss, you can hear the RPM of the engine drop, and sometimes it's so bad to where it kills the engine, so I don't really know what to do. Part of me just kind of wants to throw this thing back together, call it finished, and end the video here. The other part of me wants to like, okay, let's figure out why it's not really running that well. I already bought new intake boots for this engine. They were only 45 bucks. Bought them today, so they should get here in a couple days. So I'm kind of thinking, what if I end this video here, and next video of this project, we finish this thing. I was really wanting to do this in one video, get this thing running, get it riding, get it ready to take it off-roading in one video, but I am running out of time. I've been working on this thing for a long time now, and it's not finished. We still need to do a couple more things here and there. We still need to fix the tie rod issue. With the tie rods being loose, we need to replace the handlebars, and we also need to figure out why this thing isn't really running that well. Past couple hours, I've been looking at forums, I've been looking on Google, trying to figure out, well, why is it missing? Why is it still backfiring into the intake? And I'm seeing other people are having the same issues with this engine. Some people are saying it could be the spark, could be carburetor, it could be a number of things. It could be the reason, it could be simply that the gas that was in here, the original gas, I wasn't able to get all of it out, plus the gas that I put in here wasn't that new to begin with. It was like a month old. It could be that. Could be that this thing's been sitting outside getting rained on for 2 months while I had it. Who knows how long it's been sitting outside before I bought this thing. Could be that there's water in the gas tank. Could be a number of things why it's not really running the best. But it seems like we're going to have to figure out why it's not running. I'm a little tempted to just say, screw it, it's running. It's not running the best, but it is, because it seems to be the more I run the engine, the better it is running. So maybe it's just something that, maybe it's just like, like the CBR 1000, maybe it's just been sitting a while and needs to be run through to get any issues out and to maybe get some old gas out of the lines or something, or I don't know. Whatever it could be, we're going to have to figure it out in the next video of this project. We're going to replace the handlebars, fix that issue. We need to also put a cover on the seat, as well as a few other things here and there to try and get this thing finished and ready to take off-roading. So I guess we are going to have to do a part 2 of this project now. The main question in this video, was this worth it? Was this a good bargain, an $800 quad? Or was it a nightmare project? It needs a bunch of money, needs a bunch of work. It's a little hard to say right now because we haven't finished it yet. So far, what I have in this thing, I bought this for 800 bucks, and as far as parts, I have had to spend so far $745 in parts. New tires, new battery, new chains on the inside, new this, new that, cable, this, everything. It's now coming to $745. And we're still not finished. We still need new handlebars, we need a seat cover, the seat's ripped, may need a couple other things, as well as a good cleaning. This thing needs a really good cleaning because there's mold like on all the straps, there's mold on the frame in certain places, so yeah, we are not done with this thing. So again, it's a little hard to say if this was a good deal or not, but I'm a little tempted to say that no. And that's what I'm learning with this stuff. I always try to find the cheapest things I can find, and it always comes and bites me in the butt later with, I always need to put a bunch of work into it, bunch of money into it to try and get it running, try to get it working properly, and I just keep doing it over and over and over again, and I haven't learned my lesson yet. So anyway, I gotta end this video here. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video.